Hello, and thank you for joining the Food Safety Educational Conference as part of the 2021 virtual Southeast Regional Fruit and Vegetable Conference. I'm Laurel Dunn. I'm a Food Safety Extension Specialist with the University of Georgia, and I'll be your moderator for this presentation. First, I'd like to thank Highland Ag Solutions for sponsoring the 2021 Food Safety Educational Conference. Let's watch a short video provided by Highland Ag Solutions.
Highland is virtualizing the business of agriculture. From soil to sale, we are uniting growers, packers, marketers, and their customers in ways never done before. In today's global marketplace, competition has never been fiercer. You need innovative tools to provide business and market transparency for the industry to remain sustainable for future generations.
Pesticide CEU and CCA credits are available for most presentations offered during the live Southeast Regional Conference. Check the Pesticide CEU guide for a list of approved presentations and participating states. The Pesticide CEU guide is located in the Event Resources tab under the Media player. The guide is also available at the Resources Center located on the main menu of the conference platform. Please note, pesticide credits will only be available for registered attendees and only during the live conference. Credits will not be available for on-demand viewing. There's a simple three-step process to receive pesticide CEU and CCA credits. First, go to the audience chat box located on the left side of your screen and type your first name, last name, and the states for which you are requesting credits. Again, go to the audience chat box located on the left side of your screen and type your first name, last name, and the states for which you are requesting credits. You will need to do this for every presentation to request CEU credits. The second step is to sign out at the end of every presentation. To sign out, go to the audience chat box and type your first name, last name, and the states for which you are requesting credits. You will be reminded to sign out at the end of the presentation. The third step is to complete the pesticide CEU registration. You only have to complete this registration one time during the conference. This will not be required with every presentation. To access the pesticide CEU registration web link, open the pesticide CEU guide on the Event Resources tab located under the Media player. The pesticide CEU registration web link is located on the front cover of the guide. This presentation is pre-recorded to reduce technical difficulties. We will be answering your questions live at the end of the presentation. You can submit a question at any point during this presentation by typing your question into the questions box and pressing send. Don't forget to thank our 2021 conference sponsors and exhibitors by visiting the virtual trade show and featured products pavilion. Lastly, don't forget to join us each morning for coffee chats and each evening for networking. Check the conference agenda for details. Now, I'd like to introduce John Stanwyck, Sanitation Specialist at Algonquin Products, who will be presenting selecting the correct cleaner and sanitizer for your operation. We're fortunate to have John with us today. He has 50 years of experience in the industry. He got his BS from South Dakota State University, in Brookings, South Dakota, and he specialized in dairy production and manufacturing. So thank you, John.
Thank you for having me. Today, I will be talking about the fundamentals of cleaning, which is defined as the removing of soil particles from surfaces, which also includes sanitizing, which reduces the total bacteria cells to a safe level, or disinfecting sanitizers that kill or destroy the bacteria. Now, how do we accomplish this task? Let's look like it putting together a puzzle, piece by piece, until you have one piece left. And when that piece is put in place, you now have the complete picture. Let's start putting the cleaning puzzle together. Before we can even make a recommendation, we visit the type of food processing plant that's going to be looking at a cleaning program. When we get to that plant, we do a complete walkthrough. to view the entire process. We start at the raw receiving, walk through until we get to the finished product that's ready to be put into storage or refrigeration. While we are there, we also take a look at and spend the sanitation cleanup to observe how cleaning is being accomplished. We want to know what type of products are being used, what type of equipment they are using, and have they been trained and works safely. When we look at the plant personnel, do they have a dedicated cleaning crew or anyone that is available? We like a dedicated crew because we can teach them and train them on how to clean. Now, some of the variables that we have to take a look at before we can make recommendations are 8 key components necessary for cleaning. The first component is actions. What type of cleaning are they doing? Are they doing manual or hand cleaning? Are they spray cleaning, which is the simple use of a water hose or spraying device that applies chemicals to the surfaces, sanitizer to the surfaces? We like to have pressures on the water between 45 and 50 psi. Are they using high pressure cleaning? Those are units that generate 1,500 to say 3,500 pounds of pressure. Are they doing foam cleaning? That's detergent that you foam on the wall, ceilings, vertical surfaces, horizontal surfaces, structures, and equipment until you rinse it off. Are they doing clean in place or CIP cleaning? That's where you're cleaning the interior of the product lines and the product tanks, and in some cases the plate heater that's pasteurizing the products to kill the bacteria that's in the product. And they do this through a circulation system. The second component that's very, very critical in determining what products you're going to use is the water quality. And we measure that water hardness: soft, moderately hard, hard, or very hard. And the harder the water, the more detergent will be used to do the cleaning. Water is used throughout the entire cleaning process because it involves pre-rinsing, which is removing gross soil. It softens the soil left on the surfaces. It carries detergents to the surfaces to be cleaned. It carries dissolved waste away from the surfaces. It rinses detergents off the surfaces, and we sanitize the surface after it's cleaned. The third component before we can decide what products we're going to use is the nature of the soils that are left on the surfaces of the processing equipment. Do we have protein films? Do we have mineral films from product or from water? Do we have alkaline films, which is caused by poor post-rinsing? Do we have grease or fat films? Do we have cooked on films? And that's where you would use a heat exchanger for pasteurizing the product. Silica films are present in water and also in ingredients that are being used. Sometimes you will find a pink or red staining in plastic tubing. That's due to bacteria growth. The fourth component before we can make recommendations: what materials are being cleaned? Are they stainless steel, aluminum, or black iron, galvanized, copper, nylon, rubber, tile floors, drains? What is the material of the walls and ceilings? What about the gaskets that are on the tank outlet valves? Sometimes seepage will go behind the gasket, and that gasket needs to be replaced or cleaned. Concrete is difficult to clean, and you have plastic or PVC. So when we choose products, because of the different type metals we choose products that have metal protection built into the formulation so that damage won't be done to the metals or the surfaces that we're cleaning. The fifth component is concentrations. Proper amounts of detergents and sanitizers that are needed to clean the equipment surfaces. The sixth component is temperature. Water adjusted for proper cleaning and rinsing, equipment and other surfaces. This temperature could range from 100 to 165 degrees. Time is the seventh component, because the contact time on the surfaces to be cleaned is very important. If you leave it on too short of time, it may not clean, or too long a time, it's a possibility that you'll have to re-clean. The eighth component is the personal people that are performing the cleanup operations. They know how to clean, and sometimes language barriers make communicating difficult. The first thing that we have in the training is we are doing what we call chemical detergent handling safety rules. And they could be general, where we say never add water to chemicals, always slowly add chemicals to water. What happens if you do it too fast, it'll jump right out of the bucket at you. Never add chemicals to hot water, because they'll activate very rapidly and do the same thing, jump out. Never mix chlorine-bearing compounds with acid detergents. And then use protective gear, such as safety glasses, face shields, rubber gloves, aprons, rubber boots, hair nets, headgear, earplugs, because you want to work safely around these chemicals, because they can harm you if you don't use them properly. And then when we're cleaning like plate pasteurizers, we get into high caustic type cleaners and acids, because we need to get at that cooked on soil. If you should get detergent on your skin, flush it off immediately with cold water for 15 minutes. If you get it in your eyes, flush your water in your eyes for 15 minutes, and you may need to see a physician. And if you have to go to a physician, we have product tags on all of the measuring chemical containers. Take that off and take it with you to the doctor's office so he knows exactly what chemical is causing you problems. We go over every product tech sheet that tells you what the product is, how it's to be used, and when to be used. And along with that, the safety data safety sheets that tells you the chemical ingredients, the safety of the product, the first aid of the product. And in all cases, before you get done with the entire cleaning program, you write up cleaning procedures that tells you times, temperature, concentrations, contacting. And chemical storage is where you keep the products so that you can get at them easily. Then, after we do that, we take and show them how each product should be used. And how we determine that is that you will probably have a combination of the specific cleaners and sanitizers and equipment when you're making the program effective. You'll have manual cleaners for hand scrubbing. A lot of times here we use chlorinated hand cleaners because they have chlorine in it. They have wetters in it for sudsing up, and then they have alkalinity to it to get at the soil that you need to clean off. They can either, and they also can get into non-chlorinated cleaners. These cleaners can be used for other purposes too. You can use this type of a cleaner in your foamers for cleaning and foaming with. You can use it in high pressure for cleaning. But when you get into high heat cleaners, like for pasteurizers and such like that, then you go to a sodium hydroxide or caustic type cleaner, because you've got to penetrate that soil load to get it off because it's been cooked on. They may be processing at 165 degrees. And if they're processing at 165 degrees, it cooks on tremendously. So normally, a rule of thumb is we use 10 degrees higher temperatures when we clean those type of pieces of equipment. During this time too, we also have to have CIP cleaners, chlorinated CIP cleaners, or non-chlorinated CIP cleaners, because if you're doing CIP work or cleaning in place, like on tanks and lines, you can't have products that are foaming up. because that cuts down on the velocity of the cleaner going through the pipes or going through the spray balls or going through the heaters. That will prevent total cleanup of those pieces of equipment. Then we get into acid cleaners because we need those at times to clean off the mineral film that's on equipment. And we use foaming acid when we hand scrub or through a foamer or through high pressure. Or we use acids in other areas of the plant also to get scale off. And then we have special cleaners for drains. Sanitizers are very important. Quaternary ammonia, the reason why we use that particular product is that we can spray down the walls, the floors, structure. And the reason why we like it is because when it dries, it leaves a thin film of quat still on the surfaces so that it helps protect against bacterial growth. Then we have peracetic acid sanitizers that we use for internal and external sanitizing of equipment because it's safe to use, and at the same token, because it's an acid type sanitizer, it attacks all types of bacteria, is you leave an acidified rinse on the equipment that helps any mineral film from forming up on it. And then we have iodines, which we use in hand dips. And the reason we use that, because when the iodine has been used up, it turns from a brown to a clear. You know when to change it. That's important because some people that are in the packaging or filling rooms have to take plastic bottles and put them on the table to move into the filling operations. And sometimes they're wiping their hands on their chest. There might be itching their nose because they got an itch. You need to make sure that if you are doing that, or you put your hands back in that hand dip prior to going back to the bottles that you're going to be putting on the conveyor. Also, when you're putting equipment together, you can dip the parts in the iodine so that your gloves and that part have been sanitized prior to you putting that equipment together on the filler. Less contamination. Hand care is very important. You need to use E2 bacterial hand soap and E3 hand sanitizer. And this is to be used by both the production and the sanitation crew. And then we have specialty products like for restrooms, for laundry, floor care, glass cleaner, waste treatment, assorted products. And then we have the equipment to apply these chemicals to the areas we want to clean. This makes it easy for us then to make our final recommendations on what cleaners we're going to use. General cleaners that foam, either chlorinated or non-chlorinated. High caustic type cleaners for high heat clean. Acid cleaners for mineral. And also in high pressure. Now before and at the end of the cleaning that you'll be using all of the time is the 7 basic steps that will assure you that you're properly cleaning. And that's number 1, where you have a dry pickup first. That's moving debris off of the equipment, off of the conveyors, off of the hoppers, putting them in trash pails or condemn barrels. Then you get into your pre-rinse, which is important, at 110 to 125 degrees to remove the gross soil. Then when you get into detergent application, if it's a foam cleaner, is you add the chlorinated general detergent into that. The temperature is going to probably be about 125 degrees. And when you spray it onto the wall, you leave it for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then you rinse it off. If you leave it on too long, the soil will adhere harder to the surface that you're trying to clean. Or if it's a CIP operation, the concentration might be, say, 0.5% of a caustic type product at a temperature of 175 degrees for 45 minutes. That means that if you do any less than that, it won't clean. So that's why those three entities are very, very important. Then we get into post-rinsing. And we're still using the same temperatures of about 110 to 125 degrees. And this removes the waste from the detergent wash. The fifth step that's usually used we call cross-inspection. Someone besides the person who cleaned to inspect to see if the area surfaces are clean. If they're not, what choice do you have? You have to re-clean. 4 eyes are better than 2 eyes. Or get it right the first time. The sixth step that we go into is the sanitizing step. Is this going to be a quaternary ammonia sanitizing step? Is it going to be a peracetic acid sanitizer? It'll be based upon what we need to do in the areas that we have observed. Before we go into the sanitizing, we make sure that we empty and clean out all the drain baskets before we apply the sanitizer. Why is this pertinent? So when the sanitizer runs off the equipment, it goes down into the drain and accomplishes some sanitizing of the drain and some deodorizing. The last step is number 7, is take all of the cleaning equipment and put away in storage until needed for the next cleanup. So it's handy for you to take. Now, most of this puzzle has now gotten to the point where it's almost complete. We have lined up the number of products we're going to use. We've trained the cleanup personnel. We have the equipment in there that's going to apply it so that we can clean properly. Now with the startup or the implementation is we go on site to make sure that the program and the personnel are following proper procedures or to make any adjustments needed. And the safety of the employees to make sure that they're wearing the protective gear that's needed during the cleaning process. This makes the puzzle complete so that if you have everything in place, you've addressed all the variables that need to be addressed when you're in the plant for what has to be clean, then you can make the recommendations specifically. You can't make it over the phone if you don't understand the process. So that's the reason why that plant visit and being with the sanitation crew is so important, is to find out what has to be cleaned, what products need to be used, and how to use them so that you end up with a high quality product for the consumer to buy. I thank you very much for allowing me to present our program. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.